All right, everyone, we are ready to begin. We are almost at the end. This has been an amazing, amazing main stage at the 2025, the big health event here in the city of Shreveport. We've had some very, very important and impactful conversations. This one is not going to disappoint. It's called Health, Hope, and Healing, the Impact of Organ Donation. This is a topic that doesn't get its due, in my opinion. We don't talk enough about the importance of organ donation, but we're going to spend the next few minutes helping people to understand why it is so important. We have two guests this afternoon, Shy Williams, who is the community educator and multi-ethnic specialist with the Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency, and Pastor Lee Jeter, who is a donor brother. You'll tell us what that means in just a moment. So let's get started with this conversation. I'd love to hear from you, Shy, a little bit about your agency. What does your organization do?
Okay, so in a nutshell, we make life happen. Our job is to not only educate, but we help facilitate donor heroes to help those that are waiting on the transplant list to get off of it with a new organ, life-saving organ.
And can you tell us a little bit about some of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to donor organ donations?
Some of the biggest misconceptions, and one of the ones we hear all the time, is if I have the heart on my license, they're not going to save me. That is not true. Medical professionals are not looking at your license to determine whether you're an organ donor or not. Their job is to get you as stable as possible so that they can get you to the hospital.
And if people still have that fear, right? Can you talk a little bit more about the heart on the driver's license?
Yeah. So if I've had a lot of people come up to me and they say, I want to be an organ donor, I just don't feel comfortable with the heart on their license. You can still be a registered donor without having a heart on your license. All you have to do is just go to our website, which is maintained. LOPA maintains the website, the registry. The hospital does not have access to it. No other entity has access to the registry filed but us. So you can still register without having a physical heart on your license. And that makes a lot of people feel much better about the decision.
So it's interesting when you say that, because it makes me think about some of the work that we do at the Urban League of Louisiana. A large part of our work is about reaching out to community, making sure that they have information, that they have access. Of course, the big health event is one big example of that, but we do that work every day. And I'm wondering, how does LOPA approach that work? How do you connect with members in the community to make sure that you can dispel those myths and make sure that they have the right information about organ donation?
So we love grassroots opportunities like today. We do health fair events. We host talks every quarter that talks about different aspects of organ donation and how what we do in life affects that. We are everywhere. We go to churches, we go to schools. You call us, we come in to come and talk. Because the main thing that we drill down is education. Talking about organ donation is one of those things that people don't enjoy talking about, because a lot of people believe if I talk about it, I'm gonna die. And I'm like, you're not gonna die today, I hope. But we plan for vacations, we plan for birthday parties. Why not make this part of your life, end of life planning, along with wills and estate planning?
And where would you say more work is needed? Because to your point, it is a very difficult topic for some people to think about. Most people don't want to think about not being here. They don't want to make those kinds of plans and have those kinds of conversations. So I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about what you've seen over time that has improved. Are there any particular strategies, or is there a particular way that you talk about organ donation that helps people to relax a little bit, puts them at ease a little bit more?
Yeah. In my experience, I have found when people see what we do. They like, what is LOPA? I say organ donation. And people either have like three reactions. They either say, I know nothing, or they like, oh, I'm an organ donor, or I'm like, oh, no. And it's the people that are like greatly averse negatively that are my favorite people to talk to, because I ask them, tell me, what do you know? What is your experience? And a lot of times people have said, well, I saw this on the internet, or I saw this on social media. And usually my response is, well, how many times have you seen in the news about a pastor or somebody of leadership who has done something they wasn't supposed to do? Does that negate you from not believing Jesus anymore? Most times not. You can't take one bad apple and blanket it over everything, because ultimately organ donation does save somebody that's on a wait list. People have like number one needed organ on the wait list is kidneys. There's more people with kidney failure out there in the United States than anything. So if your biggest pushback is because you saw somebody who may have saw something or heard something, I don't think that's enough to justify saying no if you don't do your education for yourself.
And last question for now. Tell us a little bit about the process. How do you register to become a donor? Is it an easy process? How long does it take? Do you have to be at a certain level of health and wellness? Tell us a little bit about the process, please.
So it's so easy to register. You can register. Most people register at the DMV when you go renew your license or get your license. And that's where you get the heart on your license. But you can also register at our website at www.lopa.org, or if you have the LA wallet, they have the process you can register on there. But it takes maybe 2 minutes to register. It's super easy. It's not very time consuming whatsoever.
Very good. Thank you so much for that. I want to come to you now, Pastor Jeter. I'm so glad that you are here with us. You have a special family story to share. Would you tell us your family story and how organ donation helped to shape your family's journey?
Yes, ma'am. It is my honor to be here and to share that story with you. And when I finish sharing that story, I'm going to touch on some of the things that you asked Shal about the myth and some of the roles that we play as community leaders on how we have to educate individuals about organ donors. My brother went into the hospital routine doing some tests, and my brother went into a medical facility doing some routine tests, and was setting up and doing everything. We were making plans to play golf on the weekend. He was expected to come home, and he went into cardiac arrest. And at that moment, he went into cardiac arrest, and he eventually passed away as a result of that in a medical facility. As his family, we had no idea that he was an organ donor. And when we found that out, you get this phone call from the registry saying, we've been notified that your brother has passed away and he's an organ donor. We would like to process those organs, but we would like to have your permission. And it was completely new. So as the eldest one in the family, I talked with my mother, I talked with my brothers and sisters about it, and I said this was our brother's wish. And if our brother's wish was to, when his life was over, to extend life in whatever capacity he could be for someone else, then we're going to honor that wish. And then when I began to talk to the agency about the process, how long it was going to take, how was it going to occur, I was 100% reassured that it was not going to be anything that was not going to allow us to have an open casket. It was not going to interfere with any of our arrangements. So instead of him sitting in a funeral home or mortuary 2 or 3 days while we're making our arrangements, he's out giving life to somebody else. And as a result of that, my entire perspective about that changed, because I realized when I look at the number of individuals, especially individuals of color, that are on the waiting list for organ donors, and I know I've had another brother that had 2 kidney transplants who has since went home to be with the Lord. Those things happen because other people are given part of their life so that you can live. But I don't think we educate the community enough about that process. So as a pastor, one of the things that I try to do is I try to make sure that I'm educating my congregation about that process. And that's something that we have to do in conjunction with LOPR. Invite them to our education workshops. So the third Wednesday of every month, for instance, in my church, we do what we call community outreach. We may talk about LOPR, we may talk about wills, we may talk about succession, because not only is our role to educate our congregation about their spiritual needs, but also those other needs. And so that's what we try to do. And I'm a big advocate of it. I am now myself on the list. I'm an organ donor, but I know people every day that are in need. I know that people that come to us and say, my brother, my cousin, my sister need a kidney. They're going to be on the list. Can you pray? I've got someone right now that's on my prayer list that needs a kidney. And unless someone else passes away and they're compatible with that person, they may not get that kidney. And so it's an extension of life. I have a lot of conversation with a lot of different people in all walks of life. Most recently, I had a conversation with a young man, and for some reason, he felt like in the middle of that conversation, he needed to tell me that he was pro-life. Whatever that means, because it means different things for different people. So in that moment, I turned around and I asked him, so that means you're an organ donor? Well, no, I'm not an organ donor, but you just said you're pro-life. So I know it means different things to different people, but to me, that means that if your life ends for whatever reason, you're going to extend the life of somebody else because you're pro-life.
I think we just heard a new slogan that everybody is going to hear that LOPA will be using, because that is a really, really different way of thinking about how we think about life. And because you are a pastor, Pastor Jeter, I wonder, what have you learned or do you think about grief and life differently because of the experience of your family, as you think about how organ donation can extend life? Has it changed in any way how you pastor your congregation?
It has changed me in how I minister to my congregation, but how I minister to the public, period. Because it's not just what I do inside the church, but it's what I do every day when I come into contact with individuals. You know, ministry is not just something we do on Wednesday or Sunday. And I realized that even when I lost my brother, you know, you're in the planning stage. You're doing the things that you need to do for your mother, your other siblings. You don't have time to grieve. That grief comes later. But one of the things that I've learned, and through my association with LOPA and participating in the butterfly release, participating in some of the other events, it helps you deal with that loss. And because we're always going to love our loved ones. We're always going to love our family members. But when we realize that things about our people that we don't know, our family members, and I look at my brother in a whole different light, being an organ donor, because we always thought he was carefree and didn't care about anybody but himself. You know, he's just going to do everything for him. But when we see that he had that star on his license, that heart on his license, and he made a commitment to share part of himself with others, then now as a family, we're able to look at him in a different light, a completely different light. And now I'm able to share that experience with other folks that are going through the process, whether they're organ donors or not. But I encourage them, because someone gave their life for us so that we wouldn't have to spend eternity in hell. And I feel like spiritually that if you have the ability to extend someone else's life, to me, that is now the Christian and faithful thing to do if you say you're a born-again believer. Then if Jesus died, and we know he died on the cross for us, then we should be able to, with what he's given us, extend our life to someone else. Because I tell him, this body that I occupy, it is not going to that kingdom. Yeah. It is not going to eternal. There's nothing on this earth that we're going to be able to take with us if we get into that kingdom that he's promised us. And we have to realize that and educate people about that, just like we have to educate them about wills, about succession, about powers of attorney, all those other things that are not necessarily spiritual, but are going to contribute to their overall quality of life.
I really love what you said. And, I think about those stories that I've seen and heard about organ donors. And I wonder, have you had an opportunity to meet the person who received the organ that your brother
I have not
donated?
met them personally, but I have received some cards in the mail. They come to me, and individuals are very, very grateful and thankful for what they've received. There was one particular letter that we received in the mail, a card, and I believe they, if I'm not mistaken, they received a cornea or something like that. And when, it's not just kidneys, there are other things. There's bone marrow. There's other things that can be used. And there was some marrow taken from our brother's body, some bone marrow. But I mean, when you have an open casket, all you're seeing is from the waist up. But even if we had opened the full casket, you wouldn't have noticed any difference.
Right.
And that reassures me, and I'm able to reassure people that your loved one, they passed away. They're not taking anything that was on this earth with them, but they're extending life for someone else. And that's the most important part, especially for those of us that are African Americans that know that we've got more people on the list that are needing transplant than we do have donors from our community, because again, there's some matches that have to have in order for you to be the donors, whether it's blood type, genetics, there are certain conditions you have to meet. And we need to realize that we need to be advocates to help others and not. Some people are selfish, not only in life, but they're selfish in death. Our role is to make sure that we get away from that selfishness, because we serve someone that was totally unselfish.
Shai, I want you to tell us, before we wrap up this conversation, this brief but really important conversation about organ donation. Tell us how someone can get in contact with your organization and how they can learn more, but also share information with their community, with their family. What's the best way to do that?
So the best way is go to our website, www.lopa.org. There is a community pay option where you can request a speaker, and we have speakers all throughout the state. We have a local office here in Shreveport, and you submit the request to come to your church event, any event that you have, speaking event, and they will send it to the right person in the right area, and we will show up. We will connect with you and get the date, time, and if more times than not, we are available, and we will come out and talk. Yeah.
Pastor Jeter, last words.
We must do everything as a community and as community leaders to dispel a myth. That was something that came up during the conversation with my family about organ donor, about black market and people selling organs on the black market. All of those are myths, and we have to dispel those myths. I recently, not only did I lose my brother, but I lost a daughter a couple months ago, but she was out of the country. And she was on the list to be an organ donor. And I've not shared this story with our local contacts here, but because she died out of the country and all of the things that we had to do to get her embalmed and get her back to the United States, and that process has to happen very timely. She was not able to do what she wanted to do with her body, as donating parts of her body to someone else. And we need to make sure we have those real conversations with our family members. Everybody in my house now knows that I'm an organ donor. So no matter what, this is what I want, and I expect you to respect my wishes, because I believe in extending life to someone else.
I have one left. I would like to say our state, LOPA, we are very proactive and in our approach of when we talk to meet our families. We are proactive. We love them, we educate them, but we walk with them also throughout the process after they say yes. And we also are very stringent with our process. So we have we have a lot of red tape, I like to say, in place, so that every I is dotted, every T is crossed. When we have an opportunity for somebody to be a donor hero, we make sure that everything is in place for them to be a donor hero. There are 2 doctors from 2 different departments that come and that follow up before we ever call. So we go over and above to make sure that everything is above reproach, so that we can honor the wishes of not only the donor heroes, but also those that are waiting on the transplant list.
Thank you so much. And Pastor, let me say I'm so sorry for your loss. And I'm so grateful to you and to you as well, Shai. Thank you so much for being with us today. Again, a large part of why the Urban League of Louisiana offers the big health event to cities across the state of Louisiana. It is about information and it is about providing access. And we don't know what opportunities exist because sometimes we just don't know that it is an opportunity.
Right.
And this one in particular, I think is a really important opportunity. It's something that we need to talk much more about. We need to make sure that we fully understand it from start to completion, and that it is an opportunity to extend life when someone has transitioned on. And so I want to thank you both for being here. Thank you for your personal story. Thank you for the great work that you do as well. And let's give them a big round of applause.
And again, we want to thank you for everything that the Urban League of Louisiana has done and for this opportunity to bring this to North Louisiana, because it's about education and communication, and this outreach effort goes a long way in dispelling some of the myths on a lot of issues.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One more time, give them a round of applause, please.